Hi everybody, Yvonne Clark here from YvonneClark.com, and I'm here today as we've been doing for the last number of Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock for the Midlife Wisdom series, and we've been covering a number of topics over the weeks. The first week we dealt with the challenges that we need to overcome in midlife and some of the big decisions that we are faced with. And in the second week, I dealt with how to identify what your life purpose is and how you can start today to live a life of meaning in your eyes. And that is doing what you feel is right for you in this life, in accordance with your sole purpose in being here and in accordance with the purpose that you came here to live. So if you're feeling unfulfilled in your current job or your relationship or whatever it may be, then these are all normal things that we experience in life, but particularly at midlife they can be an issue because we are changing on a physical level as much as anything, and a lot of things are changing around us, like our children are growing up and are moving on, and perhaps we're dealing with what they have terms for all these things. You know, basically they call this empty nesting, where you're dealing with the challenge of your children moving out and you're no longer needed as per se as the mother figure. So your role as the mother has moved out of centre stage in your life, and now you've been doing that for so long, perhaps you're wondering, well, what am I going to do now? So that's a reason, you know, these are all things that come up for consideration at the point of midlife. It's medically called a menopause, and I like to think of the midlife as a point of balance. It's a point where we refocus and we review our lives that have passed, and we look forward and wonder, where do we go from here? So it's a point where it's like a crossroads. We have a number of roads open to us, but what we really need to do in order to make the right choices is to get into the flow of our own lives and remember what it was that we wanted to be, to do, to have growing up, where we perceived ourselves to be as we grew up, and what of that have we achieved and what have we not achieved. And maybe we don't want to achieve what we didn't achieve, but maybe we do. So it leads us to a point where we have to consider all these things in order to decide what our purpose is going forward. So this evening, the topic that I want to talk about, and it's often felt at different points in life throughout our lives generally, but it's particularly felt by midlife women and possibly even midlife men, but I mainly focus on midlife women because that's who my clients generally tend to be. So I know a lot about what's going on in their heads. I've also experienced my own midlife challenges, so I have a fair idea of what possibly might be going on in your head for that reason as well. Of course, I'm a trained mentor, which gives me the professional qualification to do what I do. But one of the topic for tonight is overwhelm. So what is overwhelm? Well, it can be, if you look it up as a definition, a strict definition in any dictionary, you will hear words like overpowering, overcome, destroy, crush, to cover or bury beneath a mass of something, feeling submerged. And I think the last one for me, anyway, describes what I felt most of all in my midlife, when I felt overwhelmed by the choices I had to make, overwhelmed by the changes that were going on in my environment, in my life generally. And of course, feeling that, it's out of our control, when in fact it's not. But we tend to feel, when we're overwhelmed, we tend to feel things are outside of our control. So tonight I want to talk about the 7 coping strategies that I used when I was going through this, or whenever I feel overwhelmed by life or by my choices or the changes that are happening. But it's particularly important for women in midlife to be able to cope with the challenges that they face. And one of them is the sense of being overwhelmed by it all. So 7 strategies for you, and they're very practical, everyday actions that you can take in order to minimize that feeling of being submerged in this morass of new energy of where is this, what's happening, where am I going from here? So the first one I'd like to talk about is related to our thoughts generally. And we think that, every thought we have is true. So if we believe that, and by the way, a belief is a thought that we have taught repeatedly, and it gains legs. In other words, it gains momentum in our minds, and we almost don't even question it anymore because it's constantly running around our heads. And that would form what we call a belief. Now, those beliefs can be limiting or they can be expansive. So if your belief is restricting you in any way, then we would call it a limiting belief. And we all have them. We possibly, some of the global ones that we all have would have been said to us growing up. Throwaway remarks by our parents or siblings. For example, money is the root of all evil. Or you have to work hard in life to get anything. Or, you always clean your plate because there's children starving in the world. These are all things that we were told growing up and that fell on us. And we heard them so often that we actually absorbed them without, as we do a lot of things, subconsciously, without consciously being aware of absorbing it. But what can happen then is it comes out later in life as an actual limiting belief, which is limiting you on your thought pattern going forward. So the first strategy is about challenging the root or the origin of the overwhelming thoughts. Are they true? And can you choose ones that are more empowering or more positive, that aren't limiting you? First of all, not every thought we think is true. A lot of the stuff that goes on is actual gibberish, replaying stuff that we've heard around us, things we've heard on the television and whatever. So not every thought is true. So it's important that you realize that not everything you think is actually correct or true or have any meaning for you. So it's about knowing which of your thoughts are empowering and which of your thoughts limit you. So the first strategy for overcoming overwhelm is to stop those thoughts and look at them and see what exactly is going on. What does that thought mean? Is that going to expand your life going forward, or is it in fact going to limit you in some way? So it's about, 1, challenging the root or origin of your thoughts. Because continuous, streams of thoughts going around and around and around is going to make you feel overwhelmed. So it's about maybe writing down some of the thoughts. Hi Eileen and Maeve, and I see Tina has joined in as well. You're very welcome. We're talking tonight about overwhelm at midlife and how everybody feels this at some stage. And I'm just going through 7 strategies that I used myself and that I use going forward anytime I feel overwhelmed in my life. So the first one is to challenge the thoughts that are in your head. Are they true? Do they have an empowering effect on your life, or do they actually, are they rubbish? And did you take them on from somebody else? And is it time to let go of that? And hi, Maeve, how are you? Delighted to see you here. Thanks for coming. Hope you get something out of tonight. So basically, that's the first strategy, is to challenge the thoughts. The second strategy would be similar but different, in that you park the thought. It's like you just park the car and you remove yourself and walk away to a nurturing environment, a different environment, a nurturing environment. Perhaps you go and walk in nature. I love being by the water. I find water really cleanses my energy system. It really cleanses my thought patterns. And it gives me a fresh perspective on things when I come back to them. So parking thoughts is a good way of just, you don't have to deal with it now. Park it. When you're in a state of overwhelm, is really not a good time to deal with, is this thought good? Is this thought not good? Is this going to help me? Is it not? Sometimes it's about just shutting down the computer, leaving, going out, having a walk in nature, taking the dog out for a walk, or maybe just walking on the beach by yourself, or whatever, or wherever you feel replenishes your energy system. Because nature has a wonderful impact on us, because we are nature and nature is within us. So it refreshes us, it gives us fresh energy, and it allows us to be in that beautiful scene around us and to be part of that, so that we leave the repetitive stuff behind. So we're parking it until we're in a better state of mind in order to look at it with fresh eyes, with a new perspective. So that's the second strategy that I sometimes do. In fact, probably very often, if I'm overwhelmed, I will leave it, whatever it is, and I'll leave and go for a walk in nature. And that tends to work really well for me. Now, it may not for you, but there's other strategies here, so bear with me. The third one is possibly it's a situation that you need to accept. So perhaps the overwhelm is being caused by you resisting something in your life. And perhaps if you were to accept it, that would actually dissolve the overwhelm and the impact that constantly resisting can create in our energy body, and physically, mentally, emotionally. So it's about, maybe it's something you have to accept. And instead of butting heads with it, constantly going up against it and railing against it, is to just say, well, maybe I need to let go of my resistance to it. Maybe it's something I need to change within me. And if I were to accept this, would it be really all that bad? Or do I want to accept it? Sometimes acceptance is the way forward. It's not always about resisting and constant analytical thoughts. It's about just, do I need to take this on board? Is this here for a reason? Is it questioning me? And do I need to just accept what is? And sometimes by just accepting, it all dissolves, and that overwhelming feeling and thought pattern just settles down completely. So that's the third strategy. So hi Gillian, you're welcome. Thanks for joining. We're just running through quickly the 7 strategies for dealing with overwhelm. So the first one was to challenge the root or the origin of the thought. The second one was to park the thought and go elsewhere, perhaps in nature, and replenish your energy system, then come back and look at the problem with fresh eyes. And the third one we've just talked about is about maybe it's our turn to just accept what it is and stop resisting. So maybe we need to stop resisting. And if we did, then everything would just settle. The fourth one, and I use this too quite often, is to bring myself within. totally within my energy body rather than my head, getting out of my head but into my body. So I tend to go into my heart center. I tend to bring my breathing, to become aware of my breathing and how deep into my body my breathing is going. And we're going to be doing that now later on as an exercise with sound. So I won't spend a long time on it, but it stimulates, the breath we take stimulates relaxation in the body. And if you even become aware of how fast your pulse is and conscious of breathing in and counting a little bit longer each time as you breathe in and let it go to a little bit longer of a count on the out breath, that actually has the effect of slowing down your pulse in your body. And by slowing down, obviously, we're slowing down our head as well as our heart, as well as our physical body. So often deep breathing will bring us down from a frantic, where am I, what do I need to do, to, okay, just bring me inside to my energy within. So that's the fourth strategy. The fifth one is perhaps you need to draw up a plan or make a schedule of the various things that are going on for you at a particular time that are making you feel submerged in your own life. So maybe just writing down the topics, the headings of this is on my mind, that's on my mind, that's on my mind, that's on my mind. Get them out of your head onto a piece of paper and maybe prioritize and say, okay, I don't need to deal with that now, or that now, but I can deal with this. So sometimes it's about, getting it out of here onto a piece of paper or a laptop or whatever, just getting it out of your head. Sometimes even saying it out loud can help, because you realize when you say these things out loud, when you hear them back, it's like, well, that's not really that important. That's not really that important. And actually, what happens then is you become even more focused on what is important, which is what we need to do in order to let go of overwhelming thoughts in our head. So often scheduling, putting things down on paper, drawing up a plan and saying, okay, this has priority and I'm going to do that this week, and they don't matter until next month or whatever it may be. So it's about getting our head into a scheduled plan of where we're going to go from here. So that's strategy number 5. Strategy number 6 would be to take action. Regular activity that promotes well-being, such as yoga or tai chi or physical exercise, just walking or swimming or whatever exercise you do, gives you pause. It allows your mind, your body and your spirit to come into a space of rest. And when you come into a space of rest like that, where you're doing an active exercise, then your head tends to really settle and float with the exercise. And when you come back from that walk, or you come back from that Tai Chi exercise or whatever it is, you'll have switched off those repetitive thoughts by doing the exercise. And it's often easier then to focus on what your priorities are. So it creates the Tai Chi, obviously, and yoga and all those type of things. They slow us down. They slow us into our own body. They bring us into ourselves, and they make us very aware of our physical body and how it feels. So that's slowing us down. It's getting us out of our heads as well, which helps when we feel, we're submerging ourselves in continuous thought. So, it's about going and doing an exercise that we find, that's physical in some way, and that helps us to focus on that and to let go of the mind stuff. The 7th and last strategy is to do what I call, and it's not a very fancy name, but I call it a mind dump. And it's very simply, just before you do a meditation, because a lot of people do meditation in order to slow down But I have found what, you know, a lot of people say, okay, I can't do meditation because my mind is too busy and there's so many thoughts going around and there's all this stuff coming at me and I can't get still. Okay, so what I have found helps me to actually do really good meditation practice is to do this mind dump before you do any meditation. So that is basically, you can record it, you can write. I particularly love writing. I love notebooks, and I've loads of fancy lovely notebooks that I write all my mind dumps in. They're not really for keeping. It's kind of, I took this from, what's her name? The girl who wrote the book, The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron. It's basically what she calls morning pages in her book. I tend to do them. If you can do it first thing in the morning, it's really helpful because it gets all the stuff that's in your head onto a page. The idea not being to analyse it, not even to look at it, not even to, you know, make sense of it as you're writing it. The point is to empty your head onto the page. It doesn't have to make sense. In fact, it probably will be absolute rubbish that comes out, like, what am I going to write? I have nothing to write. Write that down, whatever it may be, just do that. It's about just getting all the stuff, whatever you need to do to kickstart your head out onto the page, do it, and then just either tear it up or burn it or whatever. It's not about reading it or learning from it or analysing it, because that's just putting you back into that space of da 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 in the head. So it's about doing this mind dump, and you can, if you do it last thing at night as well, after your days, you know, particularly if you had something that upset you during the day, get it out on the page and then just tear it up and or burn it in the fire or whatever. So it's about letting go, and that's a great way of getting it out of here so it's not continuously playing around and around and letting it go. Because if you don't let go of stuff that's upsetting you or annoying you, it tends to create a blockage in your energy system. And as we all know, when our energy system gets blocked, it gets diseased. So it's out of ease. And so therefore, it, you know, we get the headache or we get the, you know, whatever the constant thinking causes. And when we're not letting go of stuff, maybe forgiving people and moving on, I mean, you know, forgiveness doesn't mean I have to go and say I'm sorry. Forgiveness is about, I'm just letting go of this because this is not helping me. This is not making my life comfortable. Okay, so it's about making peace with yourself and letting stuff go. Okay, so mind dump, that's my 7th strategy. So I want to do, for those who want to stay, and if you do stay, I'd love you to stay, of course, but we're all busy and I understand that too. So I want to do just a 10-minute meditation with sound. And there could be drums, or there could be bowls, or there could be anything involved here. But just go with it. So if you want to spend a few minutes doing, if you have a pen and paper, then do a quick mind dump and just burn it in the fire or tear it up. If you haven't got time to do it now, that's fine. But what I want to do is a quick meditation. And the purpose of this is to just let go of whatever it is that you're holding within you that's causing you to feel overwhelmed by life, you know. So that's what I want to do now. So bear with me, and if you have earphones, put them in because the sounds will be a lot clearer. Remember, it's, you know, it's been recorded on a digital, you know, sound thing. I'm doing this on an iPad, so it'll be, you know, it's not representative really of the proper sounds of the bowls if you were here in person, or the drum for that matter. So it is limited in its impact, but it is useful for you to have something to focus your mind on, and that's what the sound does. It gives you that focus, so it allows you to get out of your head. And I'd ask you to just become aware of your heart center and even putting your hand on your heart center and just breathing into that part of your body, and just not controlling your breath, but just allowing your breath to go a little deeper each time, to slow it down as we go through the sounds. And we're all just getting out of our heads and into our body and feeling what we feel, and just not getting attached to the thoughts again. Just see them float by in a balloon, let them go into the blue yonder. They'll still come back if they need to be here, so just go with the flow of the sound. And I'll just do a quick recap over the 7 strategies at the end for those who joined later on. So we're just going to do a quick 10-minute meditation. So get the earphones if you have them, plug them in, get yourself into a space where you're quiet for 10 minutes, you won't be disturbed, turn off the phones, whatever, disconnect yourself from the world. And this is your time to be with yourself and to, get out of your head, into your body, and bring yourself into a state of relaxation. Because 10 minutes relaxation, can keep us going for a long, long time energetically. So before I start, just get yourself a pen and paper, or get yourself the earphones, or whatever it is you want to do. If you want to do the mind dump beforehand or at the start of it, fine, do that. It's up to you. But just listen to the sounds. So without any further introduction, just close your eyes. Allow the sounds to bring you within. bring into your body, down into your feet, grounding your energy, letting go of anything you need to let go of. Let it drop out of your body with the drum. Let go. We all have a healing instrument ourselves. It's called our voice. And with this, we can heal ourselves. Some people chant. Often when we're annoyed, we let it out. Very healthy, very good reason for it. It lets the energy go. So laughter is another one, which is really positive. And we can feel it right through our energy body when we have a good laugh. If you've ever been to laughter yoga, you'll know what it's like to have a really fabulous laugh. And bring your awareness back into the room that you're in with your feet firmly planted on the ground. Allow yourself, when you're ready, to open your eyes and join me back here in the room. Hi everybody, hope you enjoyed that quick meditation. It's just a quick demonstration of how easy it can be to just take 10 minutes out when we need it to just get centered in our own bodies. So just going back, quick recap over the 7 strategies for coping with overwhelm, or when we feel we're submerging in life and that life is submerging us. So especially at midlife, these are things that can happen. So number 1, challenge the root of your overwhelming thoughts. Are they true? And choose more positive ones if they aren't helpful. So not every thought is true. So it's about looking at things rationally sometimes and getting out of the emotion of the thought. The second tip was to park the thought and remove yourself from whatever it is that's going on. Remove yourself to a more nurturing environment, such as out in nature for a walk, or walk with the dog, or just go for a walk on your own. Sit on a park bench somewhere and just allow yourself to absorb the beauty of nature. It's particularly beautiful this time of year with the spring flowers and the different colours. It's fabulous. So that replenishes our soul and helps to relieve that stressed feeling of overwhelm. Tip number 3 was perhaps we need to stop resisting whatever it is that we continuously are thinking about. Stop resisting it and maybe accept it. So often it's about stop resisting, and perhaps it's about accepting and allowing the situation to be as it is and stop trying to control it. The fourth tip was deep breathing, which we've just done a bit of meditation here, but we can do this anywhere on the train going to work, if they do trains anymore going to work with all the stuff that's going on. But anyway, in the car, if you're not the driver, obviously, closing your eyes and just, you know, going into your own breathing and just being aware of your breathing, and that gets you out of your head, and it can actually stimulate relaxation in your body. So that's the opposite of feeling overwhelmed. The other thing on a practical level you can do is schedule or draw up a schedule or a plan of the various things that are going around in your head and making you feel overwhelmed, and maybe prioritizing them or crossing them out as not necessary, possibly even, you know, whatever it is for you, but prioritize the things that are in your head. It's often about getting them out onto paper and out of your head from continually going around and giving you that feeling of overwhelm. The sixth tip was to take active exercise, Tai Chi, yoga, those kind of exercises where it's about slowing you down and getting you into your energy body rather than in your head. So they tend to be the opposite of overwhelm. They stimulate a slowing down process, and that's very helpful for overwhelming, being switched off, because that tends to be the opposite of overwhelm, by creating a creative space for us to be just in our body energy and focused on the exercise. And often when we go back then home, we feel a lot more relaxed and better able to cope with life. So the seventh and last one is, it's taken from the idea of morning pages from Julia Cameron, who wrote the book The Artist's Way, which if you haven't read, highly recommend. It's an amazing book. She's written some wonderful books, Veins of Gold, and different other books that she's written, all about the whole concept of you know, dealing with emotion and getting into our own energy body and into our own sense of relaxation and flowing with life. She's an artist by profession, so she's about the creative space. So I call it mind dumping. She calls it morning pages or evening pages before you go to sleep at night, or first thing when you wake up in the morning. Just writing whatever's in your head that's constantly going on and on and on and on for days. Get it out onto paper, burn it, throw it away. It's not about analysis. So I call that a mind dump. I do that before I try to meditate, because often when you try to meditate in that space of head stuff, it'll stop you from being at one with yourself. So mind dump first onto the page, tear it up, burn it, whatever, and then do your meditation for 5 or 10 minutes. And they are really fabulous ways of overcoming overwhelm in your life. So I hope you've enjoyed tonight. Thanks, Maeve, for the lovely comment about great tips and the sounds. And I hope everyone else enjoyed it too. And really appreciate that everybody came along. And look forward to next Wednesday at 9 o'clock, when we'll be doing a completely different topic, but also related to midlife and the challenges that we face at midlife. So thanks a million, everybody. I really appreciate this. And if you want to know more about me, see you, Maeve. Thank you for coming. Then you can find out at my website. I'm getting my website redone at the moment, so it's a super duper website on the way, and looking forward to that. So I hope I'll be able to tell you about it soon and launching it soon, so look out for that. And I hope you enjoyed tonight, and do share my videos or any of these sessions, live sessions that I do. Please share them with your friends and family so that they too can learn from these tips and get help for them. And most of us have friends in our age group, so there's a lot of midlife women out there who need these tips. So please share that tonight's and any of the other sessions. They're all on my page on Facebook. So thanks for coming. Have a wonderful rest of the evening, and I'll see you all, if not before, definitely next Wednesday on Facebook Live at 9 o'clock. Thanks for coming, everyone. Take care. Bye.